Hello, this is Dale, and I'm joined by Mike. It's the Dale and Mike Show. Hello, Mike.
Hey, Dale. How's it going?
Well, today was an important day. We had three big stories all happening at once. It's a good thing we had two cameras. And
Yeah.
keeping with the format of this show, I mean, yes, we could divide it up into little bits and pieces, but what we're going to do is we're going to concentrate on one story today, another story tomorrow, and another story on Saturday. So you'll just have to keep watching.
Imagine that.
Yes, it's a good thing that we have more than one person to go in different directions. I've been doing this now for a decade, and now our staff is twice as big. And so we'll
Yes.
have charts and graphs made by Bill Hunker to show how how coverage of crime and other things has doubled in just the
Yes.
amount of time that Mike's been here. It's fantastic. It's twice as much. Uh,
Yes.
you're watching what I think is a pretty important cultural phenomenon that's going on. And it's not just necessarily in the stories, because the stories come and go. I mean, eventually this levy story will be over. No, this is about our effect, literally our effect, Mike's and mine, on local media. This was sort of brought to the fore by the fact that we were picked as the only media, the first and only media to go to this mine and to talk about what was happening in Galice. And
Well,
since then,
we were the only ones for, a day or
right.
something.
Well, if they had moved a little faster, we would have been the only ones for 3 days. But okay. But the point is, they're made up of professionals that are paid salaries, and we're made up of
Of people whose wallets are being siphoned by this process.
That's
Yes.
exactly right. Yeah,
Yes.
it's two guys. It's two
Yes.
guys with a broadcast and journalism background, but we're doing this out of the goodness of our hearts. I mean, I know that, but it's true. We don't have any advertising, and it's having an effect. They want to interview us. They want to talk to us. We're setting a tone, which is changing. I went to a meeting today of the Board of County Commissioners. Now, the Thursday admin meeting is usually what we talk about on Thursday, but we're actually going to put that back a little bit because other things were happening today. And at the Thursday admin meeting, the IT director, the IT information technology guy came in and he was giving them a report, and I think kind of accidentally blurted out what their views are on the county's website of the weekly business session. Ready for this, Mike? 150 per month.
Wow.
That's their maximum.
Yeah, well, that's better than 85. I think they had 85 once before when they reported it.
Now, if we got 150 per month, I mean, lately we've been getting 150 per day per show. Now, I mean, per thing that we've put up there on the web. And so we put up 6 stories. We're beating the pants off of these guys. I mean, at the very least, we're 30 times more popular than the county commissioners, which isn't saying much. Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't exactly be trumpeting that all over the place.
Okay, so look, it's having an effect on the other media. I mean, so we had 2 cameras today, and so we went 2 different directions. I was at the admin meeting, and then I joined Mike at this press conference that the sheriff and police chief had. And then Mike went to the rally, the Sugar Pine Gold Mine rally in Medford, and I went to the Sugar Pine Gold Mine rally here in Grants Pass. And meantime, here's Erin Maxon from Channel 12. She's standing on the sidewalk reporting about what's happening on the other side of these trees. And here's Bill Meyer, that's not Bill Meyer, but Bill Meyer, who's a radio guy who took his cell phone to the rally and shot some pretty good footage with a cell phone.
Yeah, he was standing right in front of me.
Whether it's a reporter,
say, Bill, get out of the way, Bill.
There's a reporter from one of the TV stations who goes to a mine site wearing heels, or another guy that goes there and suffers a medical emergency, or people who are putting up bogus pictures of a SWAT truck. We're out there and we're competing with them These two guys are competing with them. You're watching this show. We're delivering all of the news. Now, we're going to deliver it to you best that we can, but we're going to do it in our way, which is giving each story enough time so that you can form some context for it. And it's not just, as happened with Bill Hunker, who will be on with us tomorrow night, not just a couple of seconds of Bill saying, well, my feeling is, and then they have a newscaster come over and do a voiceover about what his feeling is. We tell you. We've gotten 1,348 views of Danny V, the caretaker at the mine, because people want to hear it in his own words. Take as long as you like, Danny. Why are we interpreting it? And why is it that, I'm sorry, I'm on a roll. And why is it that Keijo has still decided not to put any news out?
I don't even care about them. You know, we got to stop mentioning them on the program. It's pointless, really. I mean, who are these people? If they're not going to report on the news, why should we give them press?
Very well put, Mike. Very well put. Okay, so why don't you go ahead and start showing footage, and we'll just play as much footage as you can stand.
Okay. Now we did get a little bit of bogus information this morning. I get a phone call right around 10 o'clock saying, hey, Mike, you got to run over. And it was Bill Hunker calling me up. And he said, hey, there's a 10:30 press conference over at the sheriff's department. You got to get right over there. And I said, okay. And I jumped in my car with a camera. And
but before you do that, let me also mention. So I saw this thing on a radio station that shall remain nameless.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
And it said in there 10:30 for the sheriff's press conference. Okay. Mm-hmm. It would be nice if the sheriff had told us, because he's been on our show. What? We're not the press. We are, and everybody treats it. We're supplying footage to the TV stations. Come on now. Okay. So it said 10:30, and I captured that. So after the press conference, and Mike got there late because it didn't start at 10:30, it started at 10. Yes. After the press conference, this is your Keijo. This is what they do. They changed the time on their posting after it was way too late. It did say 10:30, and when it didn't turn out to be 10:30, they changed their story to read that they had posted it correctly from the beginning. That's Keijo.
At 10 o'clock. So here, let me just show you what I got when I jumped out of my car, and I dramatically ran across the parking lot with my camera, and I set it up. I pushed the record button, and
I want to thank everybody for coming. Public safety in Josephine County is obviously a concern right now. Certainly a priority for the sheriff's office. Again, I want to end with thanking the Grants Pass Department of Public Safety and the Oregon State Police for their continued effort and support in trying to resolve our crisis here in Josephine County regarding public safety. So thank you very much for coming.
Thanks for coming.
Well, thank you very much, Mike. This is all that you got. What's amazing to me is now, please, nobody be deceived by it. It's been said in the past, well, the Courier can't possibly get this 9 o'clock commissioner's weekly business session into the Courier because, you know, it's a little too late at 9 o'clock. This thing was over by 10:15, 10:30. It ended up on the front page of the Courier.
Mm-hmm.
So it's true that if it ends at 10:15 or 10:30, it can make it onto the front page with a photo of the Daily Courier.
Oh, I think they actually had I think they had some advanced information on that.
But this had all kinds of quotes in it from his speech. And a contemporary
however
from that day.
However, I did catch enough of the a broadcast on Channel 10 that covered this to see that he was reading from a piece of paper. So that he could easily have forwarded that over to the Daily Courier.
Okay. And well, it just shows you if they want to cover the news, they can. So don't buy this stuff. Oh, there wasn't enough time. It took us 3 days to publish the results of that vote. No, you don't. And what it took Keijo, it took them forever because they're never going to publish it. What the sheriff said was that these numbers, the actual numbers that are coming out, that it's all a myth. It's a myth. And that there are people out there who are saying, gee, I wonder who he means, that are saying, well, we've got numbers.
Yes.
Well, those numbers are mythical. Really? So you would have heard
they're
that.
not nearly as mythical as their numbers.
Yes, yes. Well, but it has to be mythical or this levy is not going to pass. Everything's a myth except for what I'm telling you. I'm kind of disappointed in this guy. I know how hard he's pushing for this, but to say that what he actually said is, now get this, wait till Bill hears this. Bill Hunker, he's coming on tomorrow night and has shown you that there's 4 times more, 80% of the crime takes place in the city and the other 20% in the county. And what the sheriff said today is that's completely wrong, that it's not 4-1, that it's about equal. Really?
Yeah, well, you know what? We had a pretty interesting conversation with Bill Landis. It was Bill Hunker and Bill Landis and I, and then Rebecca.
I joined you.
Yes, right. Yes, and that's right. You pulled in, and then Rebecca from the Courier was there. What's her last name?
Well, her name isn't Rebecca, but that's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. What's her name?
Sorry.
Okay, yeah, that's right. You corrected me. You don't even know the name either.
But I know it's not Rebecca. I mean,
Okay.
part of our job here is to dispel myths.
It's right, yes, and it is a myth apparently that this gal's name is Rebecca. Anyway,
Farm, yeah, right.
Yes, right, exactly. But anyway, it's the gal from the Courier. And
the gal.
Well, and it's the one that Dale always deals with on the phone.
Melissa McRobbie.
Melissa, that's it. Melissa McRobbie. Okay, I knew there was
Rebecca.
There was an R in her name somewhere. That's I knew that.
They both end in A. Yes, that's good.
Right. Yes. So anyway, she was there. She was taking notes during this whole conversation. I don't know how that's going to influence future stories. But they're leading with this statistic that certain portions of crime are up 850%. What they don't tell you is they're talking about the difference between 6 crimes and 19 crimes out of a pool of 7,800 crimes, which is, it's just silly. It's like, it's stupid to even mention it.
So are you all panicked yet? This is the goal. Get these people panicked so they vote for this.
So anyway, yes, right.
All right. So let's jump over to Medford, okay? Because we're going to be talking about this tomorrow, and we're going to talk on Saturday about the future of the fair. Oh, yes, there's a bunch of different plans about the future of the fair, and they had a pretty contentious meeting on Wednesday evening about the future of the fair, and it looks like Simon Harris kind of given in on this whole thing. Lots of different stuff, but we're going to talk about that, our usual Thursday talk. We're going to do it on Saturday because we're going to give it enough time. So let's run back out to, here's Bill Meyer that shot on his cell phone. He's a radio guy. Here's Aaron Maxon reporting from the sidewalk. There's nothing happening here on the sidewalk. And here's how Michael Jones covers a story. Go for it, Mike.
Well, here, let me just lay a little groundwork here first. This first piece is an interview that I got with Rick Barclay. He's one of the owners of the mine.
Oh, that's boy, everybody wants to talk to the owners of the mine. Good for you.
That's right. So, we wanted to do some clarification about private versus public property, and here's what he had to say about that.
The private property rights issue.
It's a property rights issue, and it's also a constitutional rights issue of due process. Okay, everyone should have their day in court, and this is the same deal. We want to have resolution in a court of competence jurisdiction. That's where this needs to be settled. But in the interim, I'm not willing to have my property destroyed by the BLM or removed by the BLM or by myself. I'm not going to do it. If you are facing eviction, you have the right to an eviction hearing before they throw your stuff in the street. I ask for the same.
Right. So now, some people cruising around social media, some people say, well, this is not his property. It belongs to the BLM, or it belongs to the federal government, or it belongs to the people, and that you don't have the right to
But they're wrong.
Yeah.
Based on the pre-55, and this has been affirmed in court multiple times, that is as private property. It is not public property. That's my property. We've had those claims since before the BLM ever was even in existence. The sugar pine claim predates BLM and the Forest Service. It's 143 years old under continuous possession of a miner.
So
it is not public property.
Are they making the claim that, well, since we're here now, this it negates any rights that you had previously or were given previously to this piece of property?
What they're claiming is that somehow they've been conveyed the surface rights to the claims. And what we're asking them is the same thing anyone would ask if someone came up and said, this is my property now. We would like to see some proof of this.
Right.
Thus far, we've got nothing. We've been cited for non-compliance, given a suspension notice, and told to destroy our property, remove our property under the threat of them doing so.
Right.
I want my due process, and I want my day in court with my rights and my property intact. This is a constitutional republic, nation of laws. By God, that includes the BLM.
So let me ask you, is this taking place in an administrative court of sorts or
Right now it is.
I see.
It will be, the first hearing will be in the IBLA, the Internal Board of Land Appeals, within the Department of the Interior.
Isn't that sort of under their control? I mean, is that necessarily a fair court for this hearing to take place?
Well, it's where we need to go first. Okay, we can appeal subsequent to other courts, federal courts and stuff like that. But this is the place that this has to be handled first. It's part of the process. So we'll go to the IBLA and see what happens. I mean, they may look at the evidence we have versus what the evidence that the BLM has and say, okay, you BLM, you're out of luck.
Right. Well, hopefully that's the case.
But it has to be determined in a court of law. It's not to be settled in the parking lot over in a fist fight, so to speak, in a brawl.
Right.
But I just want my rights maintained until we get there. That's not, I don't think, an unreasonable request.
Well, I hope with this outpouring here, and it looks like more and more people showing up at this rally all the time here, that will lead to a just outcome.
Well, one of the things that I have to say, I was taken to task in the media whether what I did was right or wrong. And the question that really needs to be debated amongst the folks is not whether I was right or wrong, but why I should have to go to an outside source to protect my rights in my country from my government. That's the real question.
Agreed. The government should be at the lead of protecting your rights, because that's sort of the basis. That's the founding of this country was for that specific reason, as a more fair, more just system of government.
Yeah, so that's the true question. Why is it that we have to do these things to preserve our rights that the Constitution says we have?
Right.
The Constitution is an agreement between us and the government. It does not give the government a license to steal, to behave poorly, and do other things. The Constitution is there to protect us.
So now you have answered the summons that they served that day to Danny there on the property. Is that true?
Well, they didn't serve it to Danny. They had to service George and I because we're the owners of record. Okay?
I see.
Officially, legally, they can't just willy-nilly hand out papers to anybody they run across. Yes, we were serviced. We answered that yesterday. We brought in our appeal and petition to stay, which is good because you'll notice they're closed today.
Yes.
And had we tried to do that today, gosh, there's nobody here to receive our paperwork.
Wow, yeah.
Now, isn't that convenient?
Yes.
I don't want to cast suspicion upon the motives of the government.
Certainly not.
But it is interesting that the Grants Pass and Medford BLM offices are closed today. And they never close for the environmental protesters. And they have people down here all the time. What do you think we're going to do?
Well, I guess they have I guess they fear that perhaps violence would take place or something.
Well, We haven't done anything.
I've been to a lot of functions like this, and you find generally people are more respectful. They pick up after themselves.
That's right.
There's not.
I assure you that when we leave this parking lot, it will look a lot better than it does after the timber protesters have left.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
That's a guarantee. Yeah. So.
All right. Well, good luck to you. When do you expect to hear back on this?
It could be up to 45 days before we hear back on the scheduling of a hearing and whether they're going to grant a stay or not.
Is it your opinion that the security operation is going to have to remain in place all throughout this time period?
The security operation will remain in place until I get a stay from a judge that bans a BLM from taking any enforcement action. Because otherwise, they will go in and do whatever enforcement they feel is necessary before I go to court. And it's not going to happen.
All right. Well, thank you very much for talking to me.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now, everybody see the way that Mike did that. This isn't somebody standing on a sidewalk talking about something that's going on out of sight. And it's not, footage of a camera pointing at a guy making a speech. Mike's talking one-to-one with him and exchanging information with him.
Yeah, we were having a conversation.
Well, that's the way we report things.
Today, anyway.
Yes.
You never know.
No,
tomorrow,
I'm praising you, Mike. You can take a little bit of praise. It's okay. Good work, Mike. You got that. Everybody's been asking me, how can we get a hold of mine owners? How come they're ignoring us here at our channel? How come you guys got this is the bigger story. I know this is the super important thing. I got that. But there's a meta message. There's a bigger story here. In media in our area are changing. And it's happening because somebody's getting in there and they're shaking up the system. They're saying, really, we don't have to depend on someone ignoring a story and so it doesn't exist. We don't have to depend on someone reporting it from, oh, we're up here in the Channel 5 newscopter. No, that's not necessary. We're right down there talking with the guy about exactly what he feels and getting his opinion. Isn't that better journalism?
Well, and the format of this show allows you to get a little bit more complete picture, because that was like 6.5, 7 minutes with the guy. Whereas on the news, you're going to see this guy today. He's going to be on all the channels over there, but you're going to see 3 seconds of him here, 3 seconds of him there. And you may get something that is out of context or misleading on that basis.
Speaking of a little bit misleading, now keep in mind that this is a television show on the internet. So occasionally there's going to be times where his mouth is moving and the audio doesn't exactly match. When you watch the videos that we put out based on this, and we'll do that. This just happened today. Okay. Yeah. When you see that, with full, capabilities, high definition video and the rest of that, everything will be perfectly in sync. It's only because this is coming to you over your connection, and your connection may be worse than mine. I mean, maybe
listen. No, what it is it's my connection is probably worse than everybody's that's watching this video.
Yeah, but we wouldn't have it if it weren't for you, Mike.
Well, yes, but the at some point here, I'll swear off my cheapskate ways and get, a different manner of getting to the internet that's a little quicker than this.
But so that you know, now
anyway,
what everybody needs to stand by now, because while Mike was here, see, I got the short straw. I got to go to the Grants Pass rally, and Mike got to go to this one with everybody else and everybody that mattered. But you need to stay into all the rest of the show. Just wait to what I found at the Grants Pass rally. But go ahead and show us your next little video here. Just keep waiting.
Yes. Yeah, do that.
What are you laughing?
Oh, I'm not laughing, Dale. I'm not laughing.
3 big stories. I was part of one of them, buddy.
Okay. So anyway, at some point, there ended up being probably 100 people there. And then all of a sudden, these guys ran over and jumped up in the back of a pickup truck to gain some elevation there. And Joseph Rice picked up a microphone and said,
I'd like to thank everybody for showing up today to support George and Rick with their issue with the BLM. I want to kind of explain what's been going on here so you understand. Oath Keepers we are a constitutionally minded group. Our members are former military, law enforcement, those that have swore an oath to the Constitution, uphold and defend it. What happened is these gentlemen attended our Oath Keeper meeting a couple of weeks ago, actually 2 weeks ago today. They brought to us an issue they had with the Bureau of Land Management. And that issue was they were denied their constitutional right to due process. And how that has worked is they presented us with 2 sworn side affidavits that they had a Josephine County Sheriff deputy come onto their property, their mining claim, the Sugar Pine Mine, and during that interaction and serving them their cease and desist notice, George stated, we're law-abiding constitutional people, whereas the Josephine County Sheriff deputy stated, I have issues with the Constitution. That brought them to our meeting in Oath Keepers. They requested our help and our assistance, and in doing so, we took a look at their paperwork. We reviewed all of it. We looked at the notice from BLM. We looked at everything that was presented, and we came to the conclusion they were on solid footing, solid ground legally. What we look at and what we have concerns with the Bureau of Land Management and other federal agencies is they try this overreach. We're a nation of constitutional law. We are being run by administrative process, rules, regulations. That is not law. The Constitution states these gentlemen have a constitutional right to the Fifth Amendment due process. In their cease and desist order, it clearly stated they had to remove all of their mining equipment to include the cabin that they used to support the mining equipment by this coming Saturday. There was no due process in that. It was a punitive action without their ability to redress it. Now, as we look at everything and we read it, if we get tickets, we are given a citation and then we are given our day in court. What we have is a cultural issue with the Bureau of Land Management where they believe their rules and their administration is more important than following the law of the land, the United States Constitution. If they had given these 2 gentlemen their day in court, we would not be here. And I think the question everyone seems to be asking is, why did Oath Keepers stand up? Why do you have armed people out there? Why are you doing these different things? And what's important to look at, and the real question is, why did these 2 gentlemen have to come to us and ask for our assistance to protect them and get them their Fifth Amendment constitutional right to due process to protect them from their government? This is the federal government. They should be abiding by the Constitution. They also have a Fourth Amendment right to unlawful search and seizure. BLM has threatened to come in and seize their equipment and burn their cabin. Now, when we talk about burning cabins, unfortunately, the BLM believes they have the right to go on the claims and burn cabins. They have a history of doing this in the Siskiyous, in Josephine County. Both of these gentlemen have been affected by having cabins burned to the ground by BLM or knowing people that have had cabins burned to the ground by the BLM. So the question is not, why are we doing what we're doing? Why do we have to do it? Why is BLM not following the constitutional right to due process? So as we move forward with this, as everyone understands and you hear it directly from my mouth, we were requested to go in and secure the Sugar Pine Mine to prevent the BLM from coming onto that mine to seize their equipment or to burn their cabin before they got their day in court. We have done that. It's been a very well organized, disciplined operation. We are not promoting a standoff. We are not advocating confrontation with the BLM. We want them to look at how they do things. There is a cultural flaw with this agency that they believe they can do things outside of the Constitution.
Okay.
That was the best speech I've heard him make.
Yeah, and there's more, but
There's more.
It's only so long of a show. This went on for some time.
Yes. Well, I'm glad that you were there to see, one of the reasons why that there are questions about, well, what the heck are those people doing is because, you see my theme tonight, our media in this area are not reporting this very well. This is a question of using the First Amendment, that's us, and the Second Amendment, that's the armed camp people, to protect the Fourth Amendment and the 15th Amendment. No, I'm sorry, the
Right.
Fifth and the 14th Amendment. And this is about due process. All they want is their day in court. Don't go burn down their cabin before they've got their day in court. And that's why the Oath Keepers are there, to make sure that there's just enough time so the judge can say, hey, wait a minute, everybody be cool, stop these precipitous actions, calm down, and don't panic, and stop moving ahead without permission. You don't have my permission, we hope the judge will say, on any subject. I don't know if they're right or wrong. That's going to be determined in a court of law. And you heard him say earlier, it's probably going to be some kind of appeal. It's going to go to the next thing and the next thing. Well, in the meantime, while they're waiting to see if this is right or wrong, this is no new fly-by-night operation. This mine has been in operation for more than 100 years.
Right.
It may be the only one of its kind in the whole nation. So declare it a historical site. We were joking with the guys when we were going up there, and I said, all they need is one person from the BLM to come in with a pocket full of arrowheads. Oh, you got to stop.
Yes,
Look, there's
right.
arrowheads.
Yes.
Culturally insensitive, but I mean, things like that have happened.
But see, you're saying this like a joke, but
No.
this is every bit possible. I mean, nothing would surprise me anymore. Nothing would surprise me.
You need to be surprised more often, Mike Jones.
Yes,
you said that last night. Nothing surprises you. Oh no, you need to be surprised and shocked.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I'll go watch a Madonna concert or something.
Oh, surprise! You know who else needs to be shocked? All three commissioners need to be shocked.
Oh okay. Yeah. Well, that's a whole different ball game. Now, this Rick,
the third of three. Third of three. Is that what this is?
Yes. No. This is the third of four.
Okay.
Okay. Now, Rick, the guy that I was just talking to, he's a pretty good speaker, and he had I have about a minute from him. There was more, but this is about a minute right here.
It's a hell of a note that we have to come together under these circumstances against our own government in our own country. What is wrong with this picture? Why should we have to go this route? If you're caught here illegally, you have the right to a deportation hearing, as it should be. Okay? It says that you have the right to your due process. I'm going to read something here. It's pretty short, really very simple. I mean, we're not talking rocket science here. Hell, I can understand it. Okay? It says the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated.
Yes.
Okay? Amen. I mean, I understand that. That's not real hard stuff. Let me go down to Article 5 here towards the bottom, and it says, nor shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Not rocket science. Yet somehow they have the concept that their administrative rules trump our rights as citizens that are guaranteed by the Constitution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know that quote's going to be in the Daily Courier. He said, hell. Oh, yes. Well, it seems about time to do that in this circumstance. Nice footage. Nice. It's great to be able to share that with people. Now, I just, again, remind you, stay tuned for the end of the show where I'm at the Grants Pass rally. And then you get to see what happened there.
Oh, yes. Yeah. You
Mike
don't want to miss this.
And I was at the one in Grants Pass that was said to be, as a matter of fact, word went around. We found out because we see now that people are saying, "Wow, we get the news from you." The news, we didn't know such a thing existed. Now we got all kinds of people telling us stuff behind the scenes, and the employees at the Grants Pass office of BLM were warned that they were going to shut it down because they expected over 100 people, and they could be armed. So we'll show you how those people acted in the parking lot of this BLM. But first, Mike has one more video clip from his adventure in Medford. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Mike.
you know what? I was about to shut off the camera and yes, hang on just a second. We're having a little bit of a bandwidth problem. As you were leading into this, it was going up and down and all kinds of stuff. So that's the
I'm
internet
sorry.
Anyway, as I was about to shut off my yeah, that's all right. As I was going to shut off my camera and go, one more guy got up and he led by saying, "Yeah, I want to add a poem to the mixture." And I thought, oh boy, yeah, that's what we need. But it actually turned out to be pretty good, and I thought you ought to see it. So here it is.
And I'd just like to contribute a poem to this. It's called On Government Land. The government is taking away everything, only to make it their own. You can't even hold conversations on your own private telephone. They own the water, they own the air, they own everything, and they own everywhere. If they can't own it, they just steal it away, turn it into a park, and then they can say they own it. They own it with taxes, they own it with fees. No matter the cost, they do as they please. They think they own us. They treat us like cattle, they herd us like cattle, and treat us like sheep. And after the shearing, our fleece is to keep. Sooner or later, if we don't take a stand, we all shall be living on government land.
Yeah.
As far as poems go, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah, that's not bad. I thought that was pretty good.
Well, okay, now the piece that you've been waiting for.
Oh yes.
So I get out there at the same time that this little rally is going on here, and I'm now in the parking lot of BLM in Grants Pass.
Right.
And so Mike thinks he's with all of the cool kids that are watching this story. And here's what I encountered in the parking lot of BLM in Grants Pass.
Right.
Thanks for adding in the crickets. There weren't any crickets out there.
Oh yes, there were.
Oh.
Listen to them. There's hundreds of them. All right.
Yeah, this is it. That's all that was happening at Grants Pass. You better stay home. They might be armed. Yeah. Great. I got the short end of the stick this time.
Yeah, well, you know.
Well, you look like the media hero, and I look like the schlemiel.
Oh, well, not. I wouldn't say entirely. We did have you did do an interview with Channel 5 here the other day.
I did.
We could play your video of that if you
I look
wanted
a little
to.
bit better in that one, and then we're going to be all done because it's not supposed to be about us. But part of the theme of this story, media interviewing in
it's
media.
About me. Let me tell you.
No. What this is about? The bigger story, the longer story, the year-long story is how we're actually having some effect on these characters who have claimed that they've been covering the news all this time. And you just need to look just here in Grants Pass. That's all that you need to do is just look at how they're not covering the news, they're covering up the news. And so they want to talk to us because we actually have details about what's happening. Go ahead and play this for the first and last time. Go ahead, Mike.
We at badcounty.com are the first ones to be invited up to the Galice gold mine because they trust us and they know that we're going to report what they say. Plus, we can play back things in long form and nothing's going to be taken out of context. They like that.
And then what was you know, what was your impression of the camp when you went up there?
Some people have been asking what kind of camp it is. It is an armed camp. And the reason that they're up there is it's the First and Second Amendment to protect the Fifth and 14th Amendments. They want the miners there to have due process. And unfortunately, BLM's practice lately has been to issue you a warning, then burn down the cabin, and then you have your day in court. So we don't know who's right. Nobody's going to know who's right until they have their day in court, but the Oath Keepers are there to make sure that they have their day in court.
Would you say there are dozens of people up there guarding the land, or how many people around?
Oh, I remember when Geraldo Rivera was kicked out of the Middle East because he was revealing numbers and names of troops. We don't do that. Even if they'd asked us, and even if they hadn't asked us not to do that, we wouldn't reveal that. There are enough people to make sure. Remember, it's a gold mine. And they want to be sure that nobody shows up there that's not supposed to be there.
Right. I know they've been really strict with who comes and who goes. And I know when I was watching your interview with the keeper of the caretaker, he was saying that he was actually kind of frightened when the BLM showed up. Is there still a little? Are people still frightened, or does it seem like they're?
I'll always try to speak in complete sentences. The reason the caretaker was concerned was that these people just showed up without any identification, without prior notice, and they're buzzing around where he's staying. Well, his job is to take care. So he wondered, who are you? And finally got from them what their identifications were. They are required, and they also promised to let the mine operators know when they were coming on the property. They did not do that.
Are these people up there armed to the teeth? Are they?
I would describe what's up there as an armed camp. It's the same kind of precaution you'd want to take if you had a gold mine and people were hearing a lot about it.
What stood out to you the most up there?
The people there are serious. They really are not goofing around. And it's a bit tense. It's a bit tense because they're not allowing people up there. So since we were the first ones to arrive, first ones to be invited, they were watching us and they wanted us to pass a message along to everybody. Don't come goofing around up here. Thank you very much.
Are you going to be at the rally tomorrow?
Right. I cover county commissioners, but we have 2 people and 2 cameras. So we'll have 1 camera at the rally, and we'll have another here watching what the county commissioners have to say about all of this.
Did they say anything about the rally when you were up there?
The people who are up there are grateful for the rally, but the rally is not a courtroom. The next real action is going to take place in the courtroom. Again, this is the First and Second Amendment, and you all know what that is, to protect the Fifth and 14th Amendments. They just want to be sure that the BLM follows the law. They haven't always strictly adhered to the law.
Trying to think if there's anything else I can ask you.
Anything else? How about things that are wrong that are being said out there and setting them straight? It's up to you. It's your story.
Good idea. Yeah. What?
Well, there is another television station, not KOBR.
Huh.
Hey.
Was that the end of that video?
It was not.
I wonder why that was the end of the video here.
That's strange. I don't know why. Well, yes. What I said
Very
to her,
odd.
What nobody else talks about in the area, and this, again, the theme of this show, as I mentioned, is the way the media is handling this and the effect that we're having now on the media. Here they are interviewing media, because they can't get out there, because these guys don't trust them to do the story. So I pointed out what, as you've heard on this show before, what Channel 12 did with the wrong photo and all the rest of that, and the times that the Medford Mail Tribune has done the wrong reporting on this subject. You know, what we did, you were looking at a camera that was looking over her shoulder at me, because what we do, and it kind of makes the local media a little bit nervous, is that we point the cameras at them, because we want to see the other part of the story. Is not just what I'm saying, it's how is the media covering this, and why are they covering it this way, and what mistakes are they making, and why are you being told one thing, just as with the levee, when you can see for your own eyes it's actually something else. So that's why we play extended clips, so that you can see it in context, so you can make up your own mind without having some newscaster blathering on the top of it. Sorry for my blathering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so anyway, that's there were a couple of other people that got up and spoke, but you get the flavor of what was happening down there. And I overall, I'd say it was pretty successful. And right about the end of the, as everybody was breaking up, it started raining. So the timing on that was perfect too.
I'm glad to hear that, Mike. So this is, if you decide to watch again tomorrow night, we're going to switch over to the second big story of today, which was the sheriff and the chief here in Grants Pass in Josephine County talking about the levy and the numbers. Bill Hunker has a bunch of new numbers that have been supplied by the chief of police, who's taking the lead on the numbers part of it. It's a little late for that, but he's doing that. And however, you certainly don't need to watch this show. Why, you can just go to KJO. Well, no, you're not going to get it there. You can go to the front page of the Courier, and they're going to explain to you in long sentences and big paragraphs about how important it is for you to do the opposite of what you've done for the last decade, because we're in a crisis situation. We need everybody's help. And then on Saturday, we'll come in and we'll talk about some of the things that happened in today's Thursday admin meeting. Boy, there are some surprises there. The rancor among the commissioners is ramping up, and that's primarily what we do, is cover things, political things that are happening in the county. Yeah, we'll have a full report for you about that. It'll be pretty interesting, more interesting than crickets. Thanks, Mike.
In a parking lot.
In a parking lot. That's right. Much more interesting than that.